Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of TribeTalk. I'm Ann Hutira. We're so glad you're here with us. Dr. V couldn't be here today, but she sends her love to everybody watching and listening today. And we are super excited about our guest today. Tim James is known as the health hero. He's the founder of Chemical Free Body. Now, he leads people to discover how health impacts wealth and how to get the most out of their minds by getting the most out of their bodies. Tim has his own health journey that we're going to hear about today, and you can hear him talk about that and his incredible weight loss on his podcast, the Health Hero Podcast. Tim, thanks so much for being here with us today.
And my pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to share with your listeners, and I'm hoping that those of you out there, if you just get one thing from this talk today that you can actually take action on and implement and start getting results and make a big impact in your life, then it was totally worth our time here today. So I'm just excited and honored to be here.
Now, I can tell how passionate you are about what you do. Tell me your story. You have this incredible health journey of your own. At one point, you were in a very different place than you are today.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to my childhood. You know, it's kind of unbelievable that, I don't think my story is that big of a deal, but I keep telling it because everybody else tells me it is. But, I literally grew up on a cattle and hay farm over in Eastern Oregon. I was born in the 70s. I'm 40, I'll be 48 in June. And, I grew up on the standard American diet. I was hunting and fishing, is eating a lot of meat so that, I'd have lots of muscles. And, it was kind of part of being a man, and just all the guys were doing it. And that's just what it was. And, and then you watch the commercials where Michael Jordan's drinking milk. So you want strong bones. So I was chugging that stuff like crazy. Fast forward at age 37. Now I've got a wife and kids and a mortgage and a career. And I found myself 38 pounds overweight. I still in my mind, like I'm an athlete, I'm a stud. And, but I couldn't even run around a track once without huffing and puffing, So I wasn't sleeping well. My energy was down. I had gained, 38 pounds. I've been telling people this for like the last year and a half on these podcasts. I lost 38 pounds, but I found my old driver's license. It was actually over almost 45 pounds I lost, but I'll just keep it at 38. It doesn't matter. But, so I was overweight. I was bloated. I had acid reflux, like super bad. So for those of you dealing with that, we're eating Tums and Rolaids like I was all the time. Hold your horses because we have a solution for you. And the doctors wanted me to go on Prilosec, and then I started developing eczema on both of my elbows, and I had a huge patch of that stuff on my knee. It's very painful when you bump into a coffee table. It's like somebody stabbing you with a ice pick. And then I'd have like my elbows would crack and bleed. So as a financial advisor, I had to stop wearing white shirts because I'd ruined them. I'd just bleed on them. And then I'd go to your house and at a party, and then my elbows would bump into your wall, and I'm like cleaning people's walls off or their couch. So it was an ongoing problem. And in the wintertime, it was worse. It was really painful. And then I developed another skin issue on my shoulder. And then it got worse. I started bleeding rectally when I'd go poop, and it was painful. Like every time I had to poop, it was like I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not too painful and 10, like, please just end my life. I was probably a 6 or a 7. It was very painful. And then blood would follow. And I was just like, oh my God. And that wasn't fun. And that went on for 2.5 years. And I wasn't in a good place, but I don't know. I think I had my head in the sand. I was in denial, and I was just hoping it would go away. Well, then it got worse. I was on a vacation and in Peru. And then I basically had to be life driven 6 hours down the coast to a hospital in a van in the middle of the night because I was doubled over. And then they put me on a plane and then flew me into Lima. And then I had to get surgery and have an organ removed. Mm-hmm. And then I was pushed back into the United States in a wheelchair. And I still didn't know what was going on. So I was literally rotting from the inside out. I didn't know it. I didn't know it was my lifestyle, my diet, and my environment at that time. So then a buddy of mine got cancer at age 43, one of my best friends, Charles, and he said, hey, I got cancer, buddy. And they don't really have anything for me. He had chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is a supposedly incurable blood cancer. And so he's like, hey, I want to live. I want to see my son graduate high school and go to college and go to father-son weekend. I'm like, I have that in my mind. And he's an entrepreneur like me. And he's like, I want to make that happen. So I'm going to go to the Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida, and try to save myself and heal myself naturally. Will you go with me to support me? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm in, whatever you need. And then I left that meeting thinking, oh my God, I'm going to lose another friend, because I just lost another buddy of mine on my baseball team to stomach cancer. And he went through chemo and radiation and lost 80 pounds and did the hospice deal, and left three little boys behind or three boys from ages 6 to 17. So we did a fundraiser and all that stuff. My grandma died of brain cancer. My aunt had died of skin cancer. So in my world, when you get cancer, you're toast. It's not fun. It's a very painful experience for the whole family. So I learned through this whole process, and that my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affects everybody else around me. But I still didn't know what to do. So I didn't want to do surgeries. I don't ever want to do a surgery again, because I was completely out of control. I mean, what if the surgeon had a bad night? He didn't get some sleep, and the dog woke him up, or or the raccoons were kicking over the trash can outside, or maybe him and his wife got in a fight and he was miserable, and he dropped a juju fruit in my gut or something, like on Seinfeld. So I don't want to go there again. It's scary when they put that mask over your face, and I think about that, and I don't want to do it. So we go to Hippocrates, and on the plane flight there, Charles is like, oh yeah, by the way, there's no meat, there's no dairy, there's no salt, there's no sugar, there's nothing cooked over 115 degrees, and there's no vinegar. And I'm thinking, you lost me at like no meat. Okay. I'm freaked out. If it wasn't for my friend having cancer, there's no way I would have went to that place, because I was just stubborn dude, just really a stubborn redneck. So we go there. Day one, my acid reflux is gone. They start putting us on purified waters, fresh green juices, no carrots and like apples and that kind of stuff with the sugars in it and the beets, just greens and cucumbers and celery and fresh sprouts that they juice. They grow sprouts like crazy over there. In fact, half the food there is sprouted nuts, sprouted seeds, sprouted grains, sprouted beans. In fact, their motto is, it's not the food in your life, it's the life in your food. And there's a lot to that, and we might get to that later, but we go on this stuff. And I got to tell you about the first meeting. It was called Internal Awareness. And this doctor comes out, and he's buff. He's got all these big muscles on him. And he starts, medical doctor, he starts educating us on what happens from the time you eat food until the time it exits the body, and everything that happens in between that. And I was like, wow, that was really excellent. But the thing that really woke me up was they took a camera and they started showing pictures inside of people that had disease.
Wow.
Here's a 24-year-old female with colitis and breast cancer. And you look inside of her colon, and there was like yellow stuff and brown stuff. And then here's a 52-year-old male with parasites and fibromyalgia. And you see parasites crawling around there. So they start showing up. And he's like, these are different people's diseases. And this is what happens when your colon, when you're sick, and then he's like, oh, and here's a healthy colon. And then they showed it's all nice and pink, and you can see the veins in there. And I'm like, that's what I want. And then he looked at me and he says, look, most of you have, and he says, you have 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in your colon. And this is what's the root cause of your disease. You're rotting from the inside out. And I'm like, oh my God, that's me. That's what's going on. I had this epiphany. And he looked right at me, and I'll never forget. He goes, Tim, you have 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. And if you ever want to have health, true health and vitality, you're going to have to clean that mess up. And the problem is that you can't see it. And what you can't see, you don't pay attention to, but it's still there. It's like you might be OCD on the kitchen, cleaning your kitchen. But most people, if I take my finger and go on the top of your refrigerator, there's a bunch of dust up there, because it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's the problem with the inside of us. We take really good care of our outside, the makeup and shampoo, and we shave and we get our hair all right and beautiful. But what are we doing to take care of the inside? So that was a real eye opener for me. And they were trying to sell us on the fact to get a colon hydrotherapy session, or colonic. Are you familiar with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So most of your listeners probably are, if they've been following you, but just in case, if somebody out there was like me and didn't know what a colonic is, or colon hydrotherapy, that's basically where you sit on a tube rectally and water gently goes in and out of you for about an hour. And it just simply cleans your colon, and it cleans all that funk and gunk and junk out. So I remember elbowing Charles when he first talked about it. I'm like, dude, I came here to help you, but I ain't doing that deal. And then later, after you got done with the talk, I was the first one on the list. So the next day I go in pretty nervous about the situation with somebody, messing around with me down there. But those pictures of those people that were sick in that call, I'm like, I got to clean myself. And they weighed me. And then I did the colon hydrotherapy thing, and they weighed me again, and I dropped 10 pounds of impacted fecal material and mucoid plaques in like an hour.
Wow.
Now, the record at that place was like a woman. She dropped like 27 or 29, 28 pounds, something like that in 1 hour. Could you imagine having 27 pounds? Like, that's about how much my dog weighs.
Yeah.
It's like dropping a dog out of your guts. It's like unbelievable to me how much. And the average person's walking around with this stuff and they don't even know it. They have no clue. And the Royal Society of Medicine says that 85% of all disease starts in the colon. And in my experience personally, and the over 600 people I've personally coached over the last 10 years, I completely agree with them. So long story short, I'm all excited. I went through this massive detox. I had night sweats. I was irritable. I had a metallic taste coming out of my tongue. Just really irritable. I didn't want to be around anybody by Wednesday. My hunger was completely gone. I couldn't even eat anything because I was getting so saturated with nutrition. It was freaking me out. I couldn't even eat. And then I woke up on Thursday and I felt like I was 19 again, that my arms were tingling with energy. My brain was clear. I looked at Charles. We were walking back to our little hacienda after our little morning routines and, doing the juices and exercising in the hot, cold plunge and the saunas and all the stuff they have there at this healing place. And I said, dude, you're going to make it. You're going to live. I mean, this is awesome. I'm like, I said, I feel so, how do you feel? He's like, yeah, I feel great. I'm like, I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon, and we're going to knock this thing out of the park. And that's exactly what we did. We came back home. I actually read the book, The China Study, on the way home, and I gave up bacon too. I went completely plant-based for 8.5 years, went on this healing journey. In 60 days, all my health issues were pretty much gone, except for the patch of eczema on my knee took 8 months because it was so big. But the elbows were gone. The skin issue on my back was gone. I dropped the 38 pounds. My energy skyrocketed. Instead of walking the dogs or them dragging me, I started jogging with the dogs again. And I felt like I was 19. And now fast forward, I'm 47 years old. I am healthier now than I was then. I mean, I keep getting healthier every year as I learn these strategies. And all I'm really doing is cleaning out all the man-made toxins and chemicals out of my body. I've learned how they get in there. I've changed my attitude, and I've plugged my body that's from nature back into nature in many ways that people are not being taught in schools. And I'm able to maintain muscle mass. I feel great every day. My bowel movements are amazing. I have a shirt that says "Love when you poop," and that'll be in our swag store when we get that up and running this year. I'm really excited about it. And my buddy Charles, he didn't get chemo or radiation surgery, none of that stuff. It's been 10 years. Within 2.5 years, his cancer markers were gone. He's back to normal. He's run 6 marathons. I ran the first one with him in an epic moment when we crossed the finish line, crying. It was awesome. And we're buddies. We're playing guitar now together. And it's just awesome. And I just have to tell as many people about this as I can to give them an option. Not that they will go down that path, because it's going to take some work, because you have to change your lifestyle, but it's a darn good option for those that are looking for solutions that are, to the problems that they have today.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, your story is really incredible. And the fact that your friend was able to overcome that diagnosis is equally as incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's cool.
and that's where a lot of our clients are when they come to us. They're in that place where you were when you were very sick and very unhealthy. And that's a lot of who we work with. And I think there's a lot more awareness nowadays about what detox even is and the importance of detox to our health. Talk a little bit about what role detox has played for you over the years, and how important it is from a maintenance perspective just to stay on top of what you're putting into your body.
Well, first off, my opinion is, from like, just because I went through this path, I think that the first detox really needs to be that mental detox, getting all the crap and societal conditioning and all these people. And a lot of times we're our own worst enemy. Like, if I treated you or anybody else or my friends the way I talk and treat myself back in the day, I probably wouldn't have had any friends. So we're really negative towards ourselves. But beyond getting through that, which is a very important thing, which is you got to get your mind right, and you have to have a will to live, and you have to have a burning desire to get healthy no matter what and be happy no matter what. Then the pathway of elimination, I believe, is the first thing. You have to get the digestive tract cleaned, and the organ systems. These are the driving engines of your life. Now, beyond, and there's things like colon hydrotherapy. There's different things people do. We have an ancient formula from India called gut detox that we use. It's very gentle. It cleans the entire digestive tract out in 15 days. And then we just take a smaller amount of it for maintenance on that daily detox, because we're always retoxing. Nobody eats perfect. And there's always stuff coming in through the air and the water and the food and things that you don't think about, like rubber compounds off of tires. Well, where do those go? Like, well, you have to buy new tires every once in a while. Where did the rubber go? Well, it spins up into the air and then it goes into, you breathe it in, it goes, attaches to your mucous membrane, it goes into your digestive tract, into your cells. What about paint off gassing in your home? It's off gassing all the time, and automobile fume and just jet fuel exhaust. I mean, it's just, there's these microscopic noceums. And here's when I realized how bad it is. All people have to do, and don't take my word for it, go to the, your browser, web browser, and just type in the 3 words, umbilical cord chemical. Umbilical cord chemical. And you'll see the same studies that I saw that go back to 2005, that every single time they tested the umbilical cord blood of these young mothers and young babies, supposedly the healthiest of all of us, they were finding over 71% of what they were looking for. So they test for 400 chemicals, they find 250, and 180 of those cause cancer in humans. Over 212 of them cause developmental and brain disorders, and so on and so forth. So that's when I sat back in my chair and I was like, wow, we are all polluted, everybody. And the older we are, the more polluted we are, because we've had more time for these no-see-em microscopic toxins to bioaccumulate in our blood, our fat, and our muscle tissue. So that's when I started Chemical Free Body. And I thought, that's what I'm here to do. I finally know what I'm here to do in life. I'm here to bring awareness to the things that you can't see, these microscopic problems, teach people where they're coming from so they can stop putting them in their body, and then give them tools to get them out. This to me is the foundation. If people aren't doing these detoxing things and living basically a daily detox lifestyle afterwards, because we're always repolluting and we can't live in a bubble. But today our world is just polluted. I mean, there's so much plastic. Look up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. We have this like patch of garbage plastic out in the Pacific Ocean that's like the size of Texas. Ships have to chart courses around it. And those plastics are, the sun's hitting it and UV rays are breaking it down, and little fishies and stuff are eating it. It goes into the food chain, and then it gets into us, and even the 2 to 2.5 inch fish today, 1,500 miles into the interior, have both male and female organs today, way away from people. Why? Because of the estrogen mimickers from plastics that have gotten into the water supply today worldwide. And, and it's happening to us too. How much issues do you see in your practice where we have breast cancer, uterine cysts, ovarian cysts, man boobs in guys, and prostate issues? These are all related to these estrogen mimickers that are throwing off our hormonal balance, and it's critical. Can you imagine how good you're going to feel when you get this stuff out that you didn't even know it was in there?
Yeah.
It's an absolute game changer. So that's kind of what our mission is. And I believe that getting detox, cleaning out your gut, purifying your blood, your fat, and your muscle tissue, and doing that stuff and continuing to do it on a daily basis and having a lifestyle that supports that is the key to ideal health. And then again, it always goes back to, you also have to detox that mind, because a lot of garbage has gotten in there too. I know it had for me, and I'm always continually working on that.
Yeah, that's something we really drive home with our clients too. The whole body, mind, and spirit approach. You really have to take that approach to all 3 if you're going for overall health and optimal health. Now, I know you coach your own clients, and you teach your clients something you call the Core 4 Secrets. Talk a little bit about that. What is that?
Yeah, so this came out of pretty much everything I do is always out of frustration. So I had all these people, thousands of people started coming over to my house. Over 5,000 people have been to my home for juicing classes, detox classes, living food classes. We make dinner for them. I fed people. And we were doing two classes a week for 5.5 years. And then I was coaching for free, hospitals and churches and stuff on the weekends. And anytime somebody listen, I'm there. I'll come over and tell people about how to grow sprouts or how to juice, because I was so excited about it. I'm like, I got my life back. I healed myself. It's so fun. I'll show you how to do it. And so I sold a lot of juicers to people because I literally healed myself. I bought this $600 juicer. I started growing sprouts. In fact, we had a lot of cancer patients coming over because my story with Charles, and he had cancer and he heals himself of cancer. So this story spread. And before too long, my whole garage got retrofitted into a sprout growing operation. And I'm delivering 40 to 50 trays of these fresh cut, not cut, but in live wheatgrass, sunflower, and pea sprouts to families all over the Portland metro area around here, Vancouver, Washington area. And And I sold a lot of juicers because I showed them how to juice and the sprouts and all that stuff. But the problem is that a lot of them, nine out of 10, after a month or two or three, the juicer was in the bottom of the cupboard and they weren't doing it anymore. And I went to him, I'm like, why aren't you doing this? You saw what happened to me. You saw Charles healed himself of cancer, for God's sakes. You just want to lose 40 pounds. Your wife wants to get her skin looking nicer or get off those medications. Why aren't you doing this? And they said, look, I don't have time. It's expensive with the juices and the vegetables. And I just don't want to clean that damn juicer. So I was like, okay. And I went back to the drawing board. I'm like, what could I do? What are the 3 things that I could teach people that would make the most impact if they had the least amount of results? And then we added a 4th one later. So here they are. And the first one's really cool. Less than 5% of the population is doing this. So this is exciting because that means a big percent of it is going to get massive results. Drink half your body weight in liquid ounces of purified and restructured water. These are the key. That's the key there. And why is that? Well, we just talked about how polluted the world is today and the water. So we obviously want to get that garbage out of there. But the other thing, especially if you're on city pipes. Now, I used to work construction and I used to work on city water pipes. Water pipes are under extremes amounts of pressure. So when you put water under this unnatural type of a pressure, the water molecules basically coagulate and they get big like a bowling ball. Picture your intestinal tract like a chain link fence, and the water molecules are the size of a bowling ball. How many bowling balls go through a chain link fence? Not very many. They just kind of bounce off, right? So I've taught people for 8.5 years, drink lots of water, drink half your body weight in liquid ounces, and people were doing it. And everybody's like, I pee a lot. I pee a lot. I go, me too. That's the way it is. Well, guess what? About 2.5 years ago, a lady's like, you need restructured water. Whatever. I can't believe it because I was so open-minded. I don't know why I was. And she's like, look, she puts me on the phone with this expert. He talks. And finally, I was fighting him for some reason. He's like, Tim, just go drink the effing water. I'm like, all right, I'll go do it. You know, you got to hit me upside the head. I'm still a redneck, right? So I go over and she's like, I'm going to give you a quart of this water and I want you to drink it. And then in 15 minutes, I'm going to have you drink another one. And now I drink a lot of water, but I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I drink this water. I put a little bit of salt under my tongue. That was her little method. I waited 15 minutes and I'm thinking this isn't going to work. And then she pours me another one and I was able to drink it and it just disappeared. And I put some more salt under my tongue. In 24 minutes, my arms, boom, they started tingling again. My brain clicked on. It was like that epiphany, what I had at Hippocrates just from the lifestyle. So it took me up like 3 more levels. And I was like, oh my God. She's like, hey, she's all excited. She gives me, she goes, I've never done this, but she goes, you're so pure because you eat raw living foods. I'm going to give you a 3rd jar. Most people would already be having a massive detox crisis right now just on 2 of these. That's why we only give them like 1. So I drank a 3rd one. I'm high as a kite for like 6 hours. I do my coaching call. I didn't even talk about my normal topics that I was going to do scheduled for the day. All I talked about was this water and this experience. I called her up and I ordered the unit. Completely changed my life. So this is such a big deal. And because I had one lady, she did this one tactic and she lost 50 pounds in 8 months and she didn't change anything else in her life. So she just put water in the morning and then did half the body weight of liquid ounces of purified water. And that was even before we added the restructured part of it. So this is a massive, most important thing is you got to get your water right and then put it in your body. Okay. So if you mix it with like our green powder, that would count. Caffeine-free teas, that would count. But things like, or if you're making nut milk, I even count that if we make it at home. But beer and wine, all that kind of stuff, that doesn't count. That's not water. Okay. So that's a big one, right? Now, core secret number 2, that was the longest and the biggest one. This one's easy. Chew your food until liquefied. Less than 4% of the population is doing this. Now, in that class at Hippocrates, they taught us, remember from A to Z, we're talking about what happens in digestion. Well, the number 1 is chewing your food. You have teeth for a reason. They're there to masticate and break the food particles down smaller so they can be digested properly. But more importantly, we have 2 ducts in our upper mouth and 4 in our lower mouth that secrete these enzymes, amylase and lipase, that are going to break down our starches and our fats. So you chew your food really well, but what you're doing is you're preloading all the food with these enzymes. Then that goes down into your stomach and the enzymes then break the food down in your stomach. Now, for those of you concerned about the proteins and stuff like that, you have things called hydrochloric acid and pepsin in your stomach. They're going to take care of that. So don't worry about that part. And then now you're going to have digestion and assimilation of nutrients in the small intestine. That's what you want. But if you don't chew your food really well, you skip the first domino in digestion. And then you're going to have fermentation and gut rot. So for those of you that are rushing to eat your food and you're in stressed out mode, I just slam a hamburger as fast as I can and run back out to the sales floor and help
That's a
people.
lot of people nowadays. Yeah.
You're killing yourself. Slowly, what happens if you have fermentation and gut rot, what you're doing is you're slowly destroying these little gentle hair-like structures in your intestinal tract called villi, and they push your food through you, and they also pull the nutrients in through the intestinal lining into the bloodstream. So they're the epicenter of your life. You do not want to mess with them. You don't want them bathing in fermentation. You want them digesting. So chewing your food is cool. And then what I learned from Dr. Gabriel Cousins, who's a medical doctor, I don't know if you're familiar with his work.
Mhm.
He's like 80 and it can do 30 pull-ups. So this is somebody you should listen to. And he did a rain dance, by the way, and blew the Indians away because nobody had done that for like 40 years or something like that in their tribe. And then they were like, well, maybe we should eat more vegetables. So anyway, he said, when you chew your food really well, you're stimulating your meridian points and you can uptake your serotonin by up to 500%. Like, did you hear what I just said? That's like a big deal. How many people are depressed today or on depression medication that are trying to buy serotonin over the counter? Just freaking chew your food.
Yeah.
Stimulate those meridian points. This is a major deal. And again, less than 4% of people are doing it. Okay. Now, core secret number 3. Now that you're drinking lots of this purified, restructured water, you got that dialed. That might take a little effort to figure it out, but you will. We can help people with that. Number 2, you're chewing your food well. Now, core secret number 3, avoid liquids with meals. Why? Because you just spent all that time chewing your food and putting those enzymes down there. And if you drink purified, restructured water or wine or beer or coffee or whatever, you're going to dilute the enzymes and you're going to go from digestion and assimilation of nutrients right back to fermentation and gut rot. And you're going to be messing up those intestinal villi again. So we don't want that. So the rule of thumb for beginners, stop drinking liquids 30 minutes before you eat, wait an hour afterwards, and then drink a lot of liquids again. If you're stage 4 something, you're an Olympic level athlete, or you just want to get off meds or whatever and be as super as healthy as you can, stop an hour before, eat your food, wait 2 hours, and then drink a lot of liquids again. Okay. Last one, core secret number 4, before you eat, do some breath work. Now, why do we do this? Well, would you agree, Anne, that we live in a stressed out society?
Absolutely.
Right. We have family stress. We have work stress. We have financial stress. We have stress from COVID. There's a lot of stress out there. Even if you don't think you're stressed, most likely you are today because we live in an artificial environment. Human beings are not supposed to go 75 miles an hour down the freeway. If you took somebody from 2,000 years ago and put them in the car with you and they just popped into the car and they're going 75, they'd probably have a heart attack. Okay. Driving 75 in a car is not a natural thing for a human. A cheetah can maybe go that fast. So just our lifestyle is stressful on our biological natural body. So what happens is because we're in stress mode, the blood leaves the organ systems and it goes to the extremities, the hands, legs, arms, and feet to fight or flight, run, get the heck out of there. So simply, we just teach a minute or two. It doesn't take much. Just start with a minute. Take a big deep breath in through your nose like this, and then pause, and then out through the mouth. Nice, long, slow flow. Just let it all go. And then pause at the bottom with your lungs completely empty. And then back in through the nose. And then suspend the breath and hold. And then release out through the mouth. Now, if you're doing this practice, you're already probably feeling more calm. It works. I've done this so many times. I've taken people that have major social anxiety on a scale to 110, they're an 8. And just 2-3 minutes of doing this, they're down to a 4 or 5. What drug could do that? Your breath is so powerful. It's one of the best tools that you have. Less than 1% of the population is doing this, and it's a game changer. So what we recommend you do to make this work is you take your phone out and you program this stuff into your phone. Like at lunchtime, we put chew food, avoid liquids, breath, and then we also have them put, probiotics, enzymes, because we have them do that during lunch. And then at dinner time, chew food, avoid liquids, breath, enzymes. No probiotics, so we don't have them do that once a day. And it works because now your phone's going to buzz you all the time, every day. And in 3 or 4 months, you're going to have a hard time forgetting it because you're going to program yourself just like they've been doing to us our whole life with television programming. Even my dad's like, what's on the program? What program are we going to watch tonight? They're literally telling you they're going to program you. Like plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. If you know what I'm talking about, you've been programmed. So let's use the same tactic on ourselves to get what we want.
I,
Maybe you want to go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I love all 4 of those tips because they're so simple that anybody can do what you just described. And that's if someone's looking for a place to start, that is a very easy and simple place, for everybody to start. Talk to me about Chemical Free Body, because all of this kind of led to you starting your own line of nutritional supplements. Talk to us about that.
Well, what's really cool, and I'll just finish up on the core 4 secrets, is that we ship all over the world now. And what's fun, well, it's not really fun. Well, I don't know, I get excited about everything, but with COVID delays in Australia and Europe, it can take 2 weeks to a month for products to get there, unfortunately, because of the supply chain delays. So what's cool is like somebody will hear me on a podcast, they get inspired, and they're like, I'm going to try this guy's products. Sounds good. And they order them. But we're getting emails and text and stuff like that and messages that are saying, my energy's already up, my mental clarity's better, my gas and bloating's better. And they don't even have the products yet. They're like, we're doing these core 4 secrets. Me and my wife are doing these core 4 secrets, or I'm trying it out. Me and my buddies, I'm trying to get the guys at work doing this. It's already working. They don't even have the products yet because these core 4 secrets are part of your toolkit. The products are part of the toolkit. When we get people on grounding mats, that's part of the toolkit. When we direct people to get their water dialed in, that's part of your new toolkit. This is part of your new lifestyle, right? Instead of getting, it's like having a Hershey's bar or grabbing an apple that nature made, it's just a little shift. That's all it really is. And then you change your environment and your body's going to change. It's like when you go back to that work, like Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's a cell biologist, 50 years. And he's atheist. He doesn't believe in, any of this woo-woo stuff. And he's like, they've been telling him for years that the nucleus is the power generator of the cell. So he thought, well, I'm going to take the nucleus out and see what happens. Well, guess what? The cell lived. So he's like, well, he kind of busted that myth. And then he started looking at the cell and he started seeing that the cells had receptors and they were getting information from outside of the cell. Well, where was the information come from? And he said, that's when I became a spiritual man in 1 second, 1 millisecond, because I realized that our bodies are like radios and antennas receiving information from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, wow, Bruce Lipton. But then he also talked about epigenetics, where they would like take a cell because they're trying to come up with gene therapies and all this stuff and come up with some stuff to sell us for anti-cancer. So they take a healthy cell, they put it in a petri dish with a known carcinogen. So they know when they take the healthy cell, they put it in this matrix, they put it in this environment, the cell will mutate and cause cancer. Then they study the cell and try to figure out how it happened. I'm like, so they can develop some cure for it. My thing is like, how about we not put the cells in the carcinogens?
Yeah.
How about we do that? And it's the same approach with our bodies. That's why I think we got to get these carcinogens out of our body. If we stop putting the cell in the carcinogen in the petri dish, we stop putting our bodies in the petri dish of our standard American diet, the standard American lifestyle, the toxins and the air and the water and the food and their personal care products and the makeup. When I got home, they said, if you have sodium lauryl sulfate, that's a carcinogen. It causes cancer. I went home and guess what was on my shampoo? First ingredient, sodium lauryl sulfate. I checked my toothpaste down at the bottom, harmful if swallowed, contact the poison control center. If you're eating if you're putting that toothpaste in your mouth, aren't you swallowing a little bit every day? Yes. So it's as simple as getting shampoo that's natural, getting toothpaste that's natural. You make these shifts. It tastes better anyway. It's better. You start feeling better and it literally raises your vibrational frequency. So this is that's how I decided to do Chemical Free Body, because I was doing all this research as a coach for my students and getting the good products for me and them. And then all of a sudden, one day I looked at a protein powder, and I don't do protein powders anymore, but I'm looking at an ingredient and I looked there as like xanthan gum. I'm like, what the hell is that? That wasn't on here before. And I grabbed the old bottle and I looked at it, it wasn't there. And they put something in there. So I go look it up and I was like, mutated corn syrup fermented in bacteria. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I had to call all my clients. I'm like, stop buying that product. Look what they did. And so then I had to go find another one. Right. And this process kept happening. And then a lady had a really good result juicing wheatgrass. And then she didn't have wheatgrass one week. So I shipped her a bag of this concentrated green powder. And she said she got just as much energy from it. So between those two things and somebody actually working on the powder, that's what got me to think, well, maybe people could take a powder, because they're buying the juicer. They get all excited, but 9 out of 10 of them won't, because the ease of it and the cost. But with this, If I gave them a super concentrated, really good powder, at least they could do it daily. It'd take them less than a minute and it'd be better than nothing. And she got great results. So those two things got me started with this. And I'm like, I'm going to create a supplement line that is pure, and there's a lot of people out there that have really good formulas, but then it's the other ingredients that screw it all up. They put things like magnesium stearate, silicon dioxide, which is a level 3 toxin on the EPA's toxin list. Check your supplement labels. Or dicalcium phosphate, or bad silicas, or sugars, maltodextrin, flavorings, all these things. So there's some big names out there that are doing good work. I won't say who they are today, but they have crap in their products. And it's not just the formula, it's the other ingredients, but those other ingredients are still ingredients. So I feel like my mission today is to have a really good detox and nutrition line of products and bring awareness and try to change the supplement industry and have them stop putting these binders, fillers, and flow agents that are toxic to the human body. Because people are wanting and looking for health, and then they come to you and they'll get some results. But the way I look at it is like, if you have a really good brownie recipe and you're the state champion brownie recipe, but there's a little cat poop in it, are you going to want to eat those brownies? Probably
Absolutely
not.
not.
Probably not. I think you're going to pass on that. But
That might be my favorite analogy ever now to use. I love
yeah.
that.
But then my thing is like, but if the cat's eating a mouse that was in an organic field, I would rather eat the cat poop and the brownies than I would to have silicon dioxide, which is a level 3 toxin on the EPA's toxin list, in my freaking supplements that I'm taking every day.
Yeah.
Right?
I looked at your website. You have so much to offer. I want to encourage our clients to go check it out, chemicalfreebody.com. And you're actually going to offer a special discount for everyone who's watching today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody's interested in trying out our stuff, just because we have a lot of products, just go to the products tab. And I would recommend going to the savings bundles, because you can get a discount on the products. And then pick one of those. We have like a jumpstart bundle, or you can go all the way up to what I take on a monthly basis, which is the total energy and detox bundle. Pick one of those. And then when you go to checkout, type in the code MHH for Modern Holistic Health, MHH, and they can get an additional 5% off. So you can get a double discount, and we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products. And if something doesn't work, or if you have a lot of allergies and one of the ingredients didn't work for you, we'll refund your money. And call us or email us. I'll get on the phone with you, or one of my coaches will, and we will find a replacement for you. There's other companies out there that have good products. You just have to know how to read the labels, because, like company X over here might have 12 good products, or 12 products, but only 2 of them are good as far as my standards goes. But we can use one of those and you can replace it. So these are just tools. And if our tool doesn't work, we'll find another tool. The only other thing I would say is we just released, and we talked about this earlier, I don't think it's in the savings bundles. It might be in the packages, but is the turmeric product that we released. This turmeric product, we believe, is the best one on the market now. It's 185 times more absorbable and anti-inflammatory. It melts in your mouth literally and goes into your bloodstream. And in 5 minutes, your entire body is getting, the inflammation is getting doused like a campfire with a bucket of water. We've been working on this for a long time. We bought some very expensive equipment at the lab to make this happen. And we're going to be bringing out a whole line of products that have this massive absorbability now, because we know people have massive absorption issues in the first place. We're going to bypass the stomach, and we're just going to throw the good stuff right into your blood.
Tim, I thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to try the turmeric myself. I'm going to get me some of that. Thanks for offering this discount for our listeners and our clients. I encourage you, again, check out chemicalfreebody.com. Tim, thanks so much for being here. Inspiring story. And it's really incredible that you're taking your own personal journey forward and using it to help other people. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Ann.
Of course. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you back here next week on TribeTalk.